But you know who will be visiting us?
Who's that?
It is Philadelphia's #1 hockey beat reporter. It is Charlie O'Connor. He is live at the world's most famous train station. Charlie, of course they won tonight, right?
Of course they did. It's classic Flyers.
I don't even. What were your impressions of tonight's resounding victory over the President's Trophy leaders?
Yeah, I just think that enough things broke their way that allowed them to have the confidence to play the type of game they needed to play. They get the first goal. I thought that was huge. Number two, it was abundantly clear, which we haven't had for quite a while, it was abundantly clear in the first period that Sam Ersson was on his game. And I think the team fed off that. Third, I guess, because the first was the first goal. Second was Ersson. Third was they finally get a bounce. Like, Keandre Miller puts the puck in his own net off a good bounce. And I just think those three things, the fact they finally were getting some stops, the fact they got the first goal so they weren't chasing the game, and then finally the fact they actually get a good bounce. I think that allowed them to loosen up and play their game, because this was becoming a team that was waiting for something bad to happen. And once it became clear tonight that that bad thing wasn't going to happen, that they were finally getting some things to go their way, I think they just were able to loosen up and play the way they know they can play. I really do think that that's more or less what happened. Like, look, the Rangers got their chances. The Rangers actually, I don't know what the advanced metrics came out to at the end of the game, but for the bulk of the game, the Rangers were ahead in expected goals. Yeah, the Rangers finished with 3.72 expected goals. The Flyers finished with 2.20. So Rangers, from a scoring chance standpoint, from a raw chance standpoint, outplayed the Flyers. And you know what? They should. They're a better team than the Flyers. But I just got the sense that for the first time in a couple weeks, the Flyers were expecting things to go right rather than waiting for something to go wrong. And they got some bounces, they get a win. Good for them.
Charlie, the thing we were talking about right before you came on is my flip-flopping and hypocrisy. Obviously, yesterday we have a show, and I am ready to move on from Travis Konecny. There's absolutely no point in keeping him. They're just going to waste him the way they did Claude Giroux. And tonight, pounding the table on 8x8, obviously. Sam Ersson was huge, getting the bounce huge, but TK being the straw that stirs the drink. How important was that for them tonight?
It was obvious from the very beginning of the first period that they were getting good Travis Konecny. And I made the argument on the last two shows I've been on that I didn't believe Konecny on Tuesday was lacking energy. I thought he was trying. I thought it was very obvious that he was flying around trying to do stuff. I just thought it was completely misdirected and misguided energy, and it wasn't actually helping anything. But I never questioned his effort. I never questioned how much he cared in that game. He just was a mess. He was running around like a chicken with his head cut off. But he was running. He was running a lot. Well, this game, he was running just as much, but it was controlled. It was in the right direction. It was creating chances in transition. It was attacking the guy with the puck and getting the puck from him. This was a vintage Konecny game. You know, that third goal, that's all him. You know, he creates the circumstances for the goal with his play in the defensive zone, and then he trails the play, puts himself in position for a pass, and rips it home. John Tortorella actually specifically noted how important he felt that third goal was, just in terms of giving the team not just breathing room, but the ability to exhale a little bit in between the second and third periods, rather than be worried like, oh God, we're only one up on these guys, we could blow this. It was just enough that allowed them in the second intermission not to be so worried and just be like, yeah, we can close this out. This is doable. That was a big goal. But it wasn't just the goal. You know, he sets up the Cam York goal to start the game. He completely torches Keandre Miller on the rush, basically makes the dude fall down. It was more or less like a basketball crossover, essentially. And then he sets up Cam York. And you just knew. You knew this was going to be a good Travis Konecny game. You know, we asked Noah Cates, we asked Sam Ersson about it after the game. They both kind of marveled at it. They all know he's their most talented player. It's abundantly clear. And they know that he has not given that level over the last couple weeks. Tonight, he gave that level, and the Flyers won. That's no coincidence. When your best players play real well, you tend to win games. Their best player played real well, they won.
I thought another guy who they're very much depending on, not just this year, but they need him to be some semblance of okay, at least in the next few seasons, is Sean Couturier. Ends up playing 16 minutes tonight. I thought that's a good sign. Gets the assist on the Noah Cates goal. These are encouraging things. No, like I thought Sean Couturier was effective tonight. What did you think?
Yeah, I think he was fine. I think he has another gear. I hope he has another gear. But he was put back in the top 9. They kind of reworked that fourth line to be more or less Lawton, Atkinson, and Farabee, which fair. Farabee doesn't deserve to be in the top 9 right now, and Lawton hasn't been playing all that well recently either, to be honest with you. Not that anybody has. But they gave Couturier another shot in the top 9. I personally didn't think he was amazing, but I thought he was fine. He did his job. He hung in there, and yeah, we talked about this. They need Sean Couturier to be a top 6 quality center if they want to be the team from the first 50. I don't think he was a top 6 quality center tonight, but I think he was fine. And given the fact that they had great Travis Konecny and they had good Sam Ersson, that was enough.
Charlie, it looks like Nick Seeler and Jamie Drysdale played third pair minutes tonight, and like resoundingly so. I mean, after last game, what can you expect? Fair. But can you depend on Eric Johnson and Igor Zamula? I don't think. And Charlie, we've lost. Okay, there he is.
No,
got a little
they
dark.
Just turned the lights
closing
off.
The train station, everyone.
It's fine. I'm still here.
Okay. Just what did you think of the defensive deployment tonight?
Well, I specifically asked Torts this morning about the Drysdale-Seeler pairing. Basically, look, we all know that they were bad last game. Have you lost faith in their chemistry and that long-term possibility of a pair? And he basically said, look, we're going to start with that pair tonight, but if it goes bad again, I reserve the right to change it real quick. He didn't change it, but he very clearly dropped their minutes, understandably so. They were a dumpster fire last game. I mean, I less want to talk about them, in all honesty, because it's interesting they were the third pair. I more want to talk about the other 4 defense, because I thought York and Sanheim had a really strong game.
They did.
And I am very much not a fan of the Zamula-Johnson pairing, but if you're dropping Drysdale and Seeler down to third pair duties, you got to move up the Zamula-Johnson pairing to second pair duties. And look, Johnson wasn't perfect. He takes that kind of dumb penalty to give them the 2-man advantage to tie the game. I knew there were some people on Twitter that were saying it wasn't a penalty. It sure looked like one to me. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe that was just homerish. I don't know. I saw people on Twitter being like, "Oh, that was a weak call." Was it? Looked like a penalty to me. I don't know. But
he jumped.
Point being is that I thought Zamula was significantly better tonight than he's been in weeks. And it wasn't that he was great. It was just that he wasn't actively bad.
Yeah.
And you're taking top 4 minutes against a team that entered the game with the most standings points in the NHL. Given the way that Zamula and Johnson have played recently, I would have expected that to be a disaster. That they would have gotten 3 goals scored against them. Instead, they just played fine. They played fine. And that's all they needed, given the fact that, again, you had Ersson playing a really good game, and you had Konecny in vintage Konecny mode. So props to the top 4. Interesting that Drysdale and Seeler were dropped to third pair. More interesting to me that York and Sanheim show they still have some gas left in the tank, and Zamula-Johnson wasn't the dumpster fire I feared it could be if they were given top 4 duties.
I honestly thought Bobby Brink in the last game was one of the few, I don't know if I can say bright spots, but guys who stood out a little bit. Brink scores tonight. It's his 11th goal. And I thought another bright spot was Noah Cates, now on a 5-game point streak. In the first 52 games of the season, 3 goals. Last 5 games, 3 goals. Regardless of how this thing shakes out, they still need to win the next 2 and have a whole bunch of shit go their way as well to make the playoffs. If Cates and Brink end strong, I think that's a good sign going forward. What did you think of those 2 tonight?
Yeah, I mean, I think Brink was good. Brink obviously scores his goal on a bit of a fluky play. The puck goes off Condre Miller's stick and in, but I still think he was fine. Cates, I thought, was very good. Cates, you look at the ice time, he was 3rd among the forwards in ice time. Cates is a guy who John Tortorella has always loved. I think it killed him to lower Cates' minutes this year, but the guy just was scoring at the level of like a replacement level forward for over half the season. I know he dealt with the injury, so that took some time out of his year, but when he was playing, he wasn't scoring. You had to drop him down the lineup. Now you're seeing the version of Cates we saw for a lot of last year. We're seeing it at a key time. And look, we've talked a lot over the last couple weeks about this being an information gathering part of the year. You're learning about guys. And John Tortorella said some interesting things today, this morning, after morning skate, about, it's not even just that they're learning this guy doesn't have it versus this guy does. It's that, in some cases, Konecny being, I think, a glaring example, they're learning what pitfalls guys can fall into in these situations. Like, they're learning that Travis Konecny has a tendency in big games to maybe try a little bit too hard, which allows them to coach him and maybe have that be the focus, the point of emphasis with him when he's going into a playoff series. Like, TK, we know you've got the energy. You just got to calm down a little bit. Like, dial it from 15 to 13, and we got something. It's information gathered. I think they're learning some things about guys like Konecny. But with somebody like Noah Cates, I think they're learning that Noah Cates is the kind of guy who steps up in games like this. This is a guy who played for Minnesota Duluth in college, a powerhouse pretty much every year. I think he just might be a guy who just kind of knows how to step up in big games. I'm getting that impression, because as bad as this team has been over this run, you just said it, Noah Cates on a 5-game point streak. He's one of the few guys who, even when they were losing, I was like, he's been a bright spot. So, look, maybe this is just a well-timed hot streak for him when everyone else is in an ill-timed cold streak. But I've liked what I've seen from Noah Cates, especially because it does seem like he's one of the few guys that appears to be upping his game when the games get more meaningful rather than getting worse.
His goal tonight was sick.
His goal was sick tonight.
It was sick.
Charlie, I put out a tweet earlier. I put out a poll at the very end of the game. Are we in LFG mode or too little too late? And I had a tweet like, it's nice to see they didn't quit. You put the article out today, how important these last 3 games are. Like, we just need to see them. Maybe it was yesterday. I don't know. Days aren't real. Yeah.
Exactly.
Do you think right now, like a performance like tonight, and let's say they carry it over for the Devils and Caps games, let's say they look good, is this, oh, well, the pressure's off, as I'm seeing so many of my mentions, like, of course they look good now that they've blown it, the pressure's off, or is it a good sign that they seem to have, at least for one night, rebounded?
Well, I think it's a good sign. If you're someone who doesn't want this team to obviously quit on the coach, I think it's a very good sign, because it shows that, like, the Montreal game wasn't them just mutinying on the guy and being like, we're not going to play the last 5 games until they fire the coach. So it's a good sign, certainly, from that perspective. I think it's a good sign because it shows they still have pride. It shows that they still care about how the season ends. As I said yesterday, it's not like they are in between periods fiddling away on their phones, booking vacation times and tea times for the end of April. Like, they're still trying. They still want this, and they are still showing that they're willing to give the necessary effort to beat a team that entered this game with the most points in hockey. So I think it's a good sign. That said, and I don't know if you guys broke down the standings at the beginning of the show, but, like, it's still highly unlikely they make the playoffs. The Islanders won in overtime, so the Islanders are at 89 points.
It's wild card only now, yeah.
Already. With the Flyers, that's like the most they can get. So 3rd in the Metro, that's pretty much over. We can wipe that out. But you look at even the final wild card spot. Okay, Flyers are at 85 points. The Penguins are at 86, 1 point ahead. They have 1 game in hand. Detroit's tied. They have 1 game in hand, and their final 2 games are against the Habs. Washington, I don't even know what is with that team. Like, that's the team the Flyers probably can catch, because they do play them in the final game of the year, and the Caps do have a difficult schedule. But they need both Pittsburgh and Detroit to fall flat on their face, in addition to addition to the Flyers winning both their final games. It seems unlikely. So my main takeaway from this is not, oh my God, they're going to make the playoffs. It's, I'm happy that they showed some pride. I'm happy they showed the obvious effort, and I'm happy that they've, at least for a couple days, killed the narrative that this team has quit. I'm happy about that.
It is nice that we don't have to have that conversation, at least for a couple of days. We'll get through the weekend, and then we'll pick it up on Tuesday and see where we are. But it is nice that that's the case. Kelly, unless you have anything else, I think it's time for Charlie O'Connor's 3 stars of the game. Let's lead it off with star number 3.
Star number 3, I will go with the 1C in your hearts, Ryan Poehling.
Yeah, that's my
2 assists tonight. 2 assists tonight. I thought he was strong all around. I thought I know they give up a goal on that 5-on-3, but I thought the penalty kill on the whole had a good game tonight against a pretty high-powered power play. Poehling gets the 2 assists. He gets the assist on the Brink goal, but the Brink goal doesn't happen, not even just because he passed the puck up ice, but because he's the guy who puts Miller in the position to deflect that in. Poehling, again, Torts is leaning on him, maybe more than I would, but you know what? In this game, it worked. Poehling delivered a solid performance. He's my 3rd star.
Let's go to star number 2.
Yeah, star number 2 is Sam Ersson. He got the dog mask tonight, so props to him.
Nice.
Ersson, I think one of the low-key, and I tweeted about it, one of the low-key big moments of this game. It was in the second period. I believe the Flyers are still only up 1 goal, and the Flyers get trapped in their own zone. And they're in their own zone for like a good minute. The Rangers cycle them to death. They were actually doing a pretty good job of playing defense, but they were just getting exhausted. You could tell they were getting tired. You could tell that, the dam was buckling. There were some little leaks springing in that dam. Somebody it wasn't a shot that was going to turn into a goal, but it was a shot with real velocity, and it was a difficult shot that was going wide. And Ersson nabs it with his glove and creates a stoppage. That's the kind of play that Ersson has not made over these last few weeks. They needed a stoppage. They need to get it in some way, and he reaches out on a puck going wide, has the presence of mind to recognize, my guys are tired, I need to get a whistle. And he gets one. And those are the kind of plays he was making all night. I did think it was funny when I brought up to Noah Cates about getting the good bounce. Did that, like the good bounce on the Brink goal. And I said, was that the moment when everybody exhaled? And I think he gave a little bit away in a way that he probably didn't even mean to, because his first answer was not, no, that was the moment. His first answer was, yeah, and our goalie was making some really good stops. And you would just tell that that was the moment when they all exhaled, when they realized, oh, Ersson is good tonight. We can breathe a little bit. Yep. And it was kind of a telling response, because it hints that that's really what's been going on here. More than anything else, they were losing faith in their goalies, and that was what was leading to all of the chaos. More than them being pissed at Torts, more than the finishing being bad, that at its core, they were never gonna hang Sam Ersson out to dry and be like, yeah, we're obviously losing because our goalies freaking suck. But when Noah Cates, his first thing of when did you guys start feeling a sense of relief that this might go differently? And it was, well, when our goalie was making saves. That kind of tells the tale. And Sam Ersson, props to you, buddy. You made some saves. You go 24 for 25 on this night, 960 save percentage. You get the dog mask. You get the Flyers a win. Good for you, Sam. You're my 2nd star.
Before we go to star number 1, we got a question earlier. Do you think there's any chance outside of a relief appearance we see Fedotov again in the last 2 games?
I think Ersson gets the Devils game. Maybe if the Flyers lose the Devils game and they are officially eliminated, maybe they give Ersson one last look. But I don't know. They might just go Ersson the rest of the way, and that's fine. At this point, I guess at this point, you dance with the one that brought you, and Ersson brought you here. So I have no problem if they go Ersson the final 2 games. That's fine.
All right, and let's finish it off with star number 1.
Star number 1 is obviously Travis Konecny. I mean, that's a given. He was the best player on the ice tonight for both teams. He was the catalyst for the Flyers, like he has been for so many games this year. He creates the first goal. He scores the 3rd goal. He was noticeable on so many other shifts where he didn't create a goal. This was Travis Konecny at his best, and apparently he changed your mind about signing him to an extension. So that should speak to the quality of the game he had. Travis Konecny, my 1st star.
All right, Charlie, I think that'll do it. Make sure you get that train, get the hell out of that train station. You never know what's going to go on in there late at night. Hoping to see you again real soon. That is Philadelphia's number 1 hockey beat reporter, Charlie O'Connor, coming to us live from MSG.
We all silly like the mayor.